friends, it's Amy at Doki Doki Forest. Welcome. I'm so glad you are here. Now today is a very exciting day because we are going to begin to play in a brand new journal. Now over on my community tab, I had a poll asking which video you would most like to see this week, and there were 4 choices. And 2 of them were neck and neck like the whole time, but by 2%, at least last time I checked, it was at 32%, the happiness / positivity, mindful self-care journal won. And then in second place at 30% was a mixed media art prompt page. So this is it, my brand new, I don't know what to call it. It's like mindfulness, positivity, self-care. Should I just say mindfulness to kind of embody the whole thing? I think maybe that's what I will say. So this is my brand new mindfulness journal, and I thought it was cute because it has some nice positive words on the front. Sparkle all day. Yes, you can. Keep learning. Be true to you. Create your own sparkle. Did I already say that one? I don't know. And then I'm going to go ahead and cover this up and decorate the inside and everything. So the only thing that I have done without you is just decorate these pages, or rather not so much decorate, but I've done the washi tape trick where you take 2 sheets of the paper and then you put washi tape on the end to hold them together. So that way you're not gluing 2 pages together, you're just attaching them using this piece of washi tape. And this is the same style that I used on my color glue book, as learned from Nicole at Relax Cut Glue. So she's the one, as far as I know, that came up with this method. And so go and watch her tutorial on how she created her color glue book this way if you're interested in making one. But yeah, you just take 2 sheets of paper, you get the washi tape, you put it on there, and so they're still not, they're still open here technically, but you're saving a lot of glue, so I like it. Sometimes I wind up, like with the color glue book, I actually wound up putting a little bit of glue at the top and bottom here if it was driving me nuts that it was popping open. But for the most part, it worked out great, so I figured, well, let's do that again. So in this journal, what I would like to do is have some words, some positive words, and then I would like to make a journal page for those words. Now this could be sort of a glue book using collage and images that I've collected. This could be using different paints. It's going to be mixed media, glue book, kind of everything. I think of it as an anything goes because I really want to be able to play in this journal. I don't want to limit myself. I want to just feel like I can create in whatever way I want to create in here. And we're really going to test the limits of this notebook, which is from the Dollar Tree. So it's not meant to be a mixed media journal or notebook. It's just meant for notes, and gluing in here is fine with the images, but I don't know how well it's going to do with a lot of different mixed media pages. It might wind up getting way too chunky, and the pages are not meant for watercolor. So let's do some watercolor. That's the first thing I want to do. We're going to go decorate a couple of pages. Then after, we will pick our words, and then we will build our page. We'll do our first page together in this book. So a little bit of watercolor first. Oh, and if you were hoping for the mixed media art prompt, if that was your choice in the voting, you voted for that one in my poll, then rest assured, because I'm going to do that one too. The votes were so close, I'm still going to do the art prompt journal page because, I love doing prompts and I was going to do them anyway. So, so don't worry, that video will be coming up very soon. But first, let's do a little watercolor painting. Okay, so diving right into it, and I don't have a plan. I'm just waking up my watercolors with little spritz of water to get them going, and I'm literally just going to play. This isn't me trying to paint some kind of amazing landscape or character or anything. This is just me wanting to basically just make some marks, get some color on the paper, and really just paint in a free way, as if my inner child is just painting and scribbling and doodling and not really looking for any sort of end product, just really enjoying the process. And then if I like how the page comes out, I can build on top of it, and add some more stuff to it, but still leave some of it visible. And if I don't like it, it's okay. I can just cover it up with the images and things, I'm not really that worried about it. So I'm just having fun making circles, making patterns, just combining a couple different colors. And I'm also looking at the washi tape for my color palette. I don't know that I'm going to do that with every page, but just for this one, or for this session here where I was doing some painting, I thought it would just kind of be fun to take some inspiration from those colors and carry them over onto the page. So I'm only going to paint maybe, 6 pages or so, and I painted them like pretty quickly because, again, it's just for fun. Sometimes it's good to just get in there and play and just have fun, because a lot of times, we go to sit down and we have a specific thing we would like to do. I had absolutely nothing I was thinking of doing when I was creating here, and you can see it's just like these super loose circles, these loose, flowery sort of shapes. But it's the sort of thing you could go in with a pen or a marker later and you could detail them. You could go in with your white gel pen. You could go in with a Posca marker. You could add some details on there if you want. And then I got my crayons out because that's just what I felt like doing. And these are the Neo Color Water Soluble crayons. So they're really fun because I was just scribbling away, just having a good time. And then when you're all done doing your scribbles, you can get some water and you get a little paintbrush and you add that to it and some magic happens. So I am getting my water and look at that. It turns into a beautiful painting. Just the way that it all blends. And, depending on how much water you add, you can either really have it look like a painting very smooth. I didn't want the whole thing to be smooth. I want you to still be able to see some of those crayon scribble marks. So I'm doing some water and then also leaving some spots that aren't as smoothed out because I like the variation in the textures. And then over here, I'm just doing flowers. A lot of my washi tape was flowers. So I'm just kind of making flowery sort of shapes. And I didn't add a lot to the background there, that blue. So when I go to paint that, it's very, very light. So if you want to have more saturation, then just add more crayon. And you could always add some crayon on top of it as well. But I just love how these bloom when you add the water. Just very, very fun. I think I could play with these crayons all day, just making tons of, you could make like a really quick landscape, just add some green at the bottom, blue sky, just like when you were a kid and you would just scribble a sky, scribble some grass, and then add the water and it would be really pretty. And now the washi tape on this page is black with pink cherry blossom flowers. So I was trying to mix up a black using my darkest blue and my darkest brown on the palette. By accident, I dipped into black at one point, but I was really trying to mix my own. And then look at that, I dipped into green too because I wasn't paying attention. I was so busy watching the drips that I dipped into the palette and I got a random green, but that's fine by me. I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. And then I thought there's pink too on that washi, so starting the other way, I'm going to drip some of this metallic or shimmery pink down the other way and see what happens when all these colors kind of mix together and drip into each other. And it's one of the fun things about watercolor is just watching the colors flow on the paper and seeing how they react to each other. Do they blend? Do they push each other away? It's just very fun. And then I'm doing some ammemmmmazing writing on the left there, and that's when you do writing that is very loose, and it can be actual words that you just write very messy so that you really can't read them. Or you can just scribble letters. It doesn't have to even be a word. You could just scribble however you want. So I'm using a glittery Posca marker to do that. That way I can go over it with some paint, because those are acrylic markers. So I can go ahead over them with I'm using my shimmery. This is the Paul Rubens. I can't remember if they call it metallic or shimmery watercolor set. It's the one in the pink case. And I love these. These are a lot of fun to play with. So I try to get those out every now and then. Sometimes I put them aside and, you know when you use one product and you kind of really get into it, and then you realize like you haven't played with something else in a long time. So this is a good chance to try to take out some different materials. Play around with some things that maybe I don't usually use. And I'm really making a mess out of this page on the left. I'm adding in some of these shimmery. One was like a grayish taupe sort of color. The other one was, I don't even know, some sort of a purple. And now I'm adding little indigo spots just to make some marks. Why? Who knows? Just for fun. This is a totally random painting session, and I do encourage you to do the same, and it doesn't have to be paints. And look at this. I'm wiping off. I had some indigo on the brush. I didn't want to just pop it in my water. I figured, well, I could just put that on another page. And then I thought, oh, well, that looks kind of nice. Maybe I'll just quickly paint some little leaves growing out, a little stem growing out of there. And then I thought, well, I did it on the bottom right. I'll go up to the top left and I'll have another one growing from here. Some kind of little plants reaching towards each other. And these are just sort of the things that can happen. You don't plan on it. They just come out as you're painting. And you don't want to waste the paint. You can always wipe it off on the page next to it. And here I was just really soaking the paper. I was just really curious. This is like the wet on wet technique. Now, it doesn't work like the wet on wet technique would work on watercolor paper because the colors are not really blending like they would, and the paper is not really wanting to absorb all of this water. It'll happen, but it's going to get wrinkly, and I am okay with that. Now, these were supposed to be some kind of a moon dust spritz, but they came out just kind of brown, so I don't know what happened there. And now I'm trying something else. I'm going to use a stencil and my ink pads. So I'm using some of the Tim Holtz Distress Oxide ink pads, and I just thought I'll combine these two colors. It's very Maleficent-y. I wasn't doing that on purpose, but I did buy those ink pads on purpose for Maleficent. So I guess it was on purpose when I bought the ink pads, not on purpose when I'm doing this design, but I am a little limited in my colors. I don't have a ton of ink pads. So I like how that purple and green page came out. And then on the left, I'm trying this very soft color. It's called Tattered Rose. It barely showed up. So after it dried, I thought maybe I could put something on top of it, and would you be able to see through and see the pattern if I put something darker on top of it? So I tried a spray, one of the Lindy Gang sprays, and that works a little bit. You can just barely see some of the leaves, so I'm just adding some more. And I thought I'll just leave that for an experiment. There it is when everything was all dry, so you can just barely see some of that stamping. It looks blue in the spots where it's under the green. So pretty cool and a fun experiment. So now I thought, let me get out my drawing inks. And I really didn't like how these pages came out, but I think of them as the first layer. You know, I was playing around. I'm just, adding different color inks. These are some of the iridescent inks. And I'm just playing. Then I added some watercolor on top because I thought, oh, maybe this will be cool. Maybe you can see the ink underneath if I put the black on top. But I wasn't really satisfied with how that came out, so I just decided to do squiggles. And it is fun to just play around, so I encourage you to get out your stuff and play. Okay, so we played around and we did paint some of these pages and stamp them a little bit. I'm not going to do any more because I would like to wait until we have our words that are going to go on the page, or perhaps a picture. But I just wanted to do a few just to play around and kind of get things started. This will be a very random composition book, just opening up to any page. These ones came out really nice and shiny. So we just have some things to help us get going in case, I open a page and I don't feel too inspired or something. It's like, these are potential starters, and then you just build up on them. Okay, now, the next thing is I wrote down a bunch of words or phrases that are all kind of like mindful, positive quotes, self-care. It's kind of just a mix of everything. And what I'm going to do is rip them up with my ruler, and I'm going to place them in this box here. And then I will randomly pick one out, and that will be the page that we create. That will be, our phrase or the word that we will use to create a page. So I'm going to go ahead and rip these up, put them in the box, and then we will pick our first prompt. Okay, so everything is now in here. So I am going to mix it up and pick a prompt at random. And you can feel free to do the prompt along with me too. You can use the prompt and you can create something in one of your journals. So try to mix it up a little bit here. And then I'm going to reach in from the back so I don't see it. This will be what we create today. Listen to your inner voice. All right. So I think the first thing I'm going to do now, actually, let me tell you what I have on my desk for supplies. So I've gathered up all kinds of things I can play with. I've gathered up several watercolor sets, just small ones I can fit on the table. I've gathered up some acrylic paints in a little tin here. I have some painty papers that I've made and I have not done anything with, so I'd like to use these up too. And I have my crayons, and I also have a bunch of stencils. And of course I have some bubble wrap because this is a fantastic stencil for circles. And then I have some stamp pads, a couple of those. And I have images. So I have a lot of collage images. And of course there's other things around. I've got markers over there. I've got some colored pencils, different pens. I've got some foam stamps and things, some Posca pens. Basically anything goes. And we are going to test the limits of this journal because this is just a composition book, and we're going to put it through the ringer and give it all kinds of mixed media and all kinds of things to go with our prompts, and it's going to be an anything goes, and we'll just see what happens. So I think you could go about this well, I'm thinking of 2 ways. There's probably a million ways you could go at it. I'm wondering, do I begin the page first and just get some paint on whatever colors? Or do I look for an image first and then sort of base my background on the image? You could do either way. There's no right or wrong. I think I'm going to have a quick peek at my images just to see if anything jumps out for this prompt, listen to your inner voice. So I'm going to go look through, maybe find a couple of contenders, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, so I had a look. I found a few things that I liked. I found this image of this lady or queen or princess, and she has her eyes closed, and I feel like she's tuning into her inner voice. She's going within. And then I also have this beautiful napkin from Sylvia with a unicorn, and I feel like the unicorn is also going within and listening to their inner voice. So I'd like to create a page with these two characters, and then I found these scraps which are left over from an image I really liked. It was actually just sudsy laundry, but the colors were so pretty. So I thought I could rip up some of these and put those around the page as well. So now that I kind of have an idea, my plan is to stick all of these things on first and then go in with some paint, some acrylic paint, probably some stamping or stencils, and a little bit of writing. And I also have a choice. I can either just glue this right in there or I can write these words on the page. So I'm going to make that decision at the end. So let's get into actually building our page now. Now the first thing we have to do is separate the layers of these napkins. This was a 3-layer napkin, and we just want the layer that has the design. The other 2 layers are just like those white layers, and we can save those for another project. But I just love that unicorn. Thank you, Sylvia, so much. So cute. We've trimmed out our lady. What do you think? Is she a queen, a princess? Is she just imagining she has that crown, or does she actually have it? I'm putting a little gesso here where I'm going to put the napkin because I realized I really don't want to have those white composition lines going through when I glue the napkin on. I don't want to see those lines going through the unicorn's head. And now I'm using some matte medium to glue the napkin down, just taking my time and trying to make sure I get matte medium over the whole thing and smooth it out so that way there hopefully aren't any bubbles underneath. And then once this dries, it is amazing. The napkin will just look like it's always been there on the page. So that is dry, and I'm trying to figure out, before I glue the lady down, she's probably going to be one of the last things I do, because I want to first figure out where I'm going to put these little scraps of paper that just sort of brighten up the page. So I'm gluing those down, and there's a big section where the lady is, so I don't have to put anything there. So I want to make sure I'm placing things carefully so that you can see them. And I want to put something behind her. At first I thought I was going to paint in that little spot between her head and shoulder, but I decided I wanted to stick one of these papers in. Almost looks like a little heart there in that paper, doesn't it? Like a little blue, almost a heart. And I really am trying to use every last scrap from this picture I had. I absolutely love the color combination. It has so many different bright colors. It's really pretty. Now some acrylic paint to color the background, of course, and also to kind of bring these different glued elements together. So if you have ripped an image and then you use the acrylic paint around the edges of it, you can really blend it in and make it look like it's part of the page. Now you can still sometimes see the rip, but I was hoping that I could just make everything kind of all go together. So I'm even adding some acrylic to the napkin, but I did add it lighter than I did in the background. So I just have a couple different pinks there just for some variation in color. And I don't want to paint where I'm going to put the lady, but I do have some extra paint on my brush. So I put a little bit too much on the page, or maybe it was just the right amount. But the extra that I have, I realize I could just go ahead and wipe off next to it, and that'll be a future page at some point. It may just be a page that I play on with different materials and different media, or it may be an actual journal page. And now I'm going to use the bubble wrap. I put some neon yellow paint in there, and once that pink paint dried, I'm going to stamp on top of it. And I just love bubble wrap bubbles as a stamp. I love it. That's definitely like a really quick way to kind of add something to your pages. If you're looking at your page and you're thinking it needs a little something, if you put a little white paint or black paint, any color that you want, but oftentimes white and black are very striking. If you put those on a little bubble wrap, just grab it out of a package that came in the mail or something, and you just stamp away, and it can really add a nice texture element to your page. And I wanted to add some gold. I love to have like shimmery colors and sparkle and all that good stuff. So I thought I'd paint a gold, almost like a frame. And then of course I'm going to spatter some of the paint, because that's just fun to get all the randomness. I don't really control where it's going. I'm just tapping the brush and the paint is just kind of flecking wherever it wants to go. And I just colored in that listen to your inner voice. I colored that in with marker, and then I just used the gold around the edges. And then I went in and I liked that green that was in that little watercolor palette. So I thought I'd put the green around the unicorn to really try to make the unicorn stand out a little bit, because I felt like when I added the acrylic paint, I loved it, but I also felt like the unicorn sort of blended into it a little too much. And then I added gold. So I added the green first and then the gold, almost like an aura coming out from the unicorn, this magical aura that this lady is connecting to. That's her inner voice. Her inner voice is a unicorn. My inner voice might be a unicorn too. I don't know. I think it can be whatever it wants. It might be a unicorn sometimes. And then I'm just trying to get that listen to your inner voice, trying to get that to stand out. So I just added a little pencil around that with some water. And then I thought it was a little too dark, so I'm just trying to wipe away some of it. And then finally, I thought that if I used my white gel pen where I had stamped those circles, it would again help those to kind of pop out and let those show up even more than they were. And last, we got to have some glitter. We have to have some sparkle because this is a unicorn. So I only added the sparkle to the words, listen to your inner voice, as well as to the unicorn, around the unicorn and the unicorn's horn and mane, because this is a magical creature. And then, once everything dried, we wound up with this page, and it's nice and sparkly. Hopefully you can see that. Sorry about the glare on the magazine image there. So I am really happy with how this page came out. I am happy with the colors and the textures, and I am excited to begin the journey in this journal. And if you want to see another mindfulness journal, an amazing one, head over to Janet Nash's channel. I'm going to put her link down below because she does mindfulness journals and they're so cool. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.